Hey, good evening, everyone. It's July the 22nd.
I'm Bruce Turner in Lynchburg, Virginia.
I'm Dennis DeVoe from Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
I'm Jeff Zeiss in Napa, California via Tel Aviv.
And I'm Robert Taylor in New Orleans, Louisiana. Good old USA.
All right. Hey, guys, I'm Duke Carrico. Hey, tonight we're going to talk a little bit about Enterprise Android, Amazon Unlimited, hey, Chromebook growth, and we got even more, some Android Wear. Oh, man, we got a full show for sure. Hey, all this, our apps, and more. Good evening, guys.
Evening.
I wasn't sure whether you said Android Wear or underwear at first.
Yeah, Android Wear.
Oh, boy.
Not much difference.
Overworn.
Yeah, it's I'll tell you what, we'll get there, but you know, Dennis, he took the plunge here a while back, and we'll talk a little bit in depth about Dennis's experiences with Android's latest push. All right, hey, before we get there though, guys, let's talk a little bit about Apple and Google in the enterprise, okay? You know, Google, we can talk numbers. We talk them all the time. But one space that Android really hasn't been able to penetrate is the enterprise space. And I think there's a lot of reasons for this. You know, first of all, BlackBerry used to own the enterprise, and we all know where that went. I know at my own company, a very large chemical company, the iPhone and the iPad seems to be taking over this space, okay? My company employs about 40,000 people worldwide. So, you know, this is, I've seen this change, but, you know, Apple recently announced that they had partnered with IBM to kind of bust this space. Where does this leave Google? And Jeff, I'm going to let you start on this one, brother.
Well, great. Where does this leave Google? Well, Google has been lacking with doing something like this for a little while, and now with Android L coming out, they're kind of starting to address the that marketplace, right? And they're taking a different tack. They're taking the Samsung, I guess the Samsung NOC protocols and their tool set, and kind of using that as the building blocks for them to try to penetrate the market. So you know, kudos for them for not trying to reinvent it, partnering up with you know, someone who's actually made a strong push in that. I was unaware of that Apple had a dominance in this arena, and you know, enterprise, you know, that makes total sense for Microsoft. Microsoft that is their bread and butter, is the, you know, business enterprise systems, you know, so partnering with Apple totally makes sense. So, you know, Google's always been a little slow to the party, but they always make up the distance. So I think, you know, with Android L coming out and bring your own device and things like that, I think they're going to they'll make some inroads, and maybe they'll make them over, you know, globally before they do, you know, in the United States. So, because that's a wider market, I guess.
Okay. All right. Hey, Robert, what do you think, man? Is Google in a good position to compete in enterprise? And if they are, or if they aren't, rather, what do they need to do to change, man?
Well, you know, there's some interesting thoughts here, because in the enterprise, what is kind of weird about it, the bring your own device concept, okay? Nobody came out with, neither Apple, Microsoft, or Google have come out with a portable technology, tablet or phone, that dominated in the way that BlackBerry did back 2006, 2007. Apple got its head start because it had the big giant leap of the iPhone. It got entrenched in personal users' hands. And a good example, if you're going to look at something like this, you look at the real estate market. Real estate agents have a vast number of tools to them in the way of portable devices, but they are all designed behind iOS. They're not designed for Apple. And that is because the iPhone was in the hands of many real estate agents. Developers started developing apps for the iPhone, and then real estate agencies and market share owners like MLS started developing apps that real estate agents use every day. So it's not something that Apple themselves did. It's just because the users had those devices in their hands that they crept into the enterprise, but it was the developer that put it there. Now, Google, on the flip side, Google is playing catch up. The number of device activations for Google is phenomenal, with Samsung leading the way. But is it too late? Jeff says that they, once they step in, they start to make huge leaps and jumps. Maybe that's true, but I got to tell you, there's a lot of real estate agents out there that are not giving up their iPhones because now they have the tools to do their job. So they're not going to jump to Android, and if they don't jump, then the developers are not going to develop apps, for Google, for real estate agents. So they may be able to, make up for things when they come late to the party, but I wonder if it's not very difficult for Google to break into enterprise at this point.
Well, I mean, if you look at traditional enterprise, you would say that Microsoft owns it, okay? But the opportunity is not necessarily with the PC generation, but with the mobile generation. Bruce, I think that one thing that Apple has going for it is there is less fragmentation on the iDevices versus the Android devices. And I think the fragmentation causes a lot of headaches for your IT personnel. Do you think that this is one of the biggest reasons that it might hold Android back from competing with Apple in the enterprise space?
Yes, I do, and I'm glad you brought up the IT, because the gatekeepers of the enterprise are the CIOs, the IT directors. That's who it is. A segmented market like the real estate market, although your point is well taken, Robert, with the real estate market and the app developers and developing apps that mom and pop businesses want to use. But the real key to the enterprise is the CIOs. I remember when iPhone first came out, and people were having discussions about this. Could Apple break into the enterprise market that was so captivated and held tight by BlackBerry, and they were able to do it? I think one of the reasons they were able to do it is because of their closed system. It was very secure, and IT guys want security. So I think the fragmentation of Android is a speed bump that they're going to have to overcome. I do think, though, with Google Apps for Business and with Google's partnership with VMware and some other things they're rolling out, I think that they have a better chance of coming through the back door with the IT CIOs and so forth than coming in the mobile device. They can spread out. I mean, we use NetSuite. We're fixing to move to Salesforce, two of the biggest companies in the enterprise as far as sales and marketing. And you can find those apps on both platforms, and they're very good and they're very secure. So it remains to be seen. But I think their best chance is to come at the mobile after the fact and go after Microsoft with Chromebooks and Google Apps for Business and get entrenched that way.
Let's say one last thing real quick. I think that the iPad made inroads in the medical industry. For a great because the iPad came out, it was a wonderful tool. It could be used in that industry. But where the industry where Bruce just talked about, the educational industry, right? The Chromebooks are now really taking hold, right? So that whole, it's going to be. I think you're going to see like different vertical markets, vying for supremacy in each little ecosystem, and we'll see what happens.
Well, and to correlate to that point, Jeff, to one of those rare points that we agree, this is where Google Apps really comes in, because they're pushing it on the education side, they're pushing it in the private enterprise side, and Google Apps, with its secure platform, is actually what Google can hang its hat on for enterprise. they need to expand it. They need to do more with it. I say that as a Google Apps user, but definitely you bring up a good point. The vertical markets within the Google Apps ecosystem.
Dennis, I'm going to give you a chance to weigh in here. You got anything you want to add to this conversation?
Yeah, I do actually. I was just thinking of this. Is the one thing that I really see right now is there's not going to be a dominant player. As you guys have alluded to, back in like 2005, 2006, BlackBerry was pretty much the driving force for mobile in business. So, but now with the fact that you've got these platforms, you've got the Apple iOS, Google Android, going like with such good market share in the consumer space, I really don't think that either one of them is necessarily going to have that edge. Yes, Google does have a bit of catching up to do on the technology side, but it's clear that they are out wanting to focus on that with Android L. And also, bear in mind, like in terms of fragmentation, KitKat is definitely making inroads. You're finding a lot of devices now are starting to get KitKat. They've still got a long way to go, but I think we're going to see this trend continuing of trying to reduce that fragmentation. As I do agree, that is actually one of the big roadblocks right now.
I agree.
But I think we're going to see multiple vendors competing in this space.
I agree, and I just want to say I really think that, you know, when we were just talking just now, I think we were all talking about the West, the U.S.-Canada market, and this article does, by the way, this article that I'm reading from comes from Android Authority, and I think they make a real good point. It says, this may all sound like gloom and doom for Android, but if you step outside the U.S. for a moment, you can see plenty of opportunity. Recode cites ADC research, which suggests that although iPhones make up 82% of smartphones, iPads account for 73%. These are U.S. corporations. And if you look at these numbers globally, you're looking at 36 and 39% versus 82 and 73%. So I think globally there still is a lot of opportunity. You know, Samsung has recognized this. They've been working on Knox. They've been sharing this with Google to, build an even more secure platform. And just let me close it with this, guys. I still yet think that that Google really gets a bad rap when it's insinuated that Android is less secure than iPhone. This is very untrue. The only reason that that the problems have existed is because Google does provide a means to allow third-party apps to be installed or side-loaded, as we like to call it. The iPhone really doesn't provide such a means to install apps. It's through their app store or nothing. So, hey guys, good conversation on that. Better actually than I thought it would be. Thank you guys very much. Let's move on, man. Hey, Amazon's made a pretty big announcement this week. They've launched Kindle Unlimited. And basically what this is you can get a Netflix-style, all-you-can-consume books for the low monthly price of $10, $9.99 per month. What's really cool about this is this service is going to work across all devices. And it's also going to include their WhisperSync network, which basically allows you to stop reading on one device and pick up another device, and you're right where you left off. Very, very cool. This is also going to include Amazon's audiobooks. This is a company that Amazon purchased a pretty good while back. And I guess where I want to start on this one is Bruce. You might do quite a bit of reading. What's $10 a month sound like for this plan?
You know, it's interesting. Especially as I travel, I see people consuming content in airports and motels and gates and so forth and planes. you know, some people are readers, some people are music people. I mean, and you can just about tell. You know, the music people, you know, you'll see their foot tapping, you know, or you'll see them head bobbing or something like that. And the readers, you know, they've got their Kindle and so forth. I think this is a killer move for Amazon because they did buy Audible. And so now you have the best of both worlds. Whether you like reading on the Kindle or whether you like listening on the Kindle, which you know, and I know Kindle had a developer preview feature where you could listen to this kind of computer type voice and everything. Who knows what they'll do with future Kindles? But the idea that you can either read on your tablet or listen on your tablet is huge for people who are readers. You know, I'm not a voracious reader. To my discredit, I feel like I probably ought to read more. But I think this is really, really a win for Amazon. And you know, $9.99 seems like a fair price when you compare, you know, the Platinum program that Leo advertises for Audible. You know, 2 books a month and stuff like this. This could really be great for some people.
Jeff, jump in here, man.
Well, you know, it's the best of both worlds. If you're an avid reader, right, it's going to be great for you. If you're not, you can do the a la carte kind of, you know, purchase as you go anyway. So, you know, it's a win-win for Amazon, and they probably figure out, you know, how many books a person reads per month, right? And, you know, or listens to it, or, you know, uses audio books. So, you know, they worked out the numbers, and they probably came back and said, you know, we can break even or make money at this, because they don't do it blindly, right? They definitely come out with some kind of metric to say this is going to work, and they have nothing to lose. If it doesn't work, they just, you know, either lower the price, raise the price, discontinue it, and then you're back to the a la carte kind of environment that they currently are in. So, yeah, it's a good win for them. And they have, you know, and it's probably good for the authors too, because, you know, they have some major players that, you know, go through the Amazon books. So, yeah, I think it's good.
Well, that was going to be my next question. I'm not real sure that authors are happy about this. I'm not. It's probably a contract, and it might not be. You know, like right now they're probably getting so much for selling a book, and right now they're probably getting a very, very small percentage that's spread out over what's this 6,000 books available and 2,000 audio books from Audible. So, yeah, I'm not real sure that that it's a good deal for the author necessarily. Rob, you want to weigh in here?
Well, you know, I did speak with one of our Tech and Coffee regulars about this on the day of the announcement. Yvonne happened to mention that she was interested in it. She tends to be more of a voracious reader, to use Bruce's terms. And I asked her, I said, but at $10 a month, is that really worth it? Are you really going to read enough books? And she said, but think about it. Even if you buy 2 or 3 books at $4 or $5 a piece, you're spending that much anyway. The question is the library going to have enough current titles that would make it worthwhile? And she looked and she said that there were some books there that were current releases that seemed to sort of make it okay, but, you know, then the question becomes, does it turn into like Amazon Video, where everything is a season or 2 behind, and then you're paying, you know, $10 to read a book that was on the New York bestsellers list a year or 2 ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not sure that model would make sense in the long term.
And it's kind of like Netflix now.
Yeah.
You know, Netflix has all kinds of stuff. They've got all kinds of movies. They've got all kinds of TV shows. But are they the movies and TV shows you want to watch tonight? Okay.
Right.
And I think that it will be a problem with Amazon going forward. And I will have to say, I watched the Twit Network's This Week in Tech Sunday night. They talked a little bit about this, and someone suggested that before it's over with that Amazon will have a tiered pricing plan to where, you know, you can get this level of content for $10 a month, but for $15.95 a month, that will include all of the current New York Times bestsellers at all times, that sort of thing, okay? And that is where I see this service headed. Listen, at the bottom line, I think this is a win for the consumer. I think this will fit nicely. And, you know, I do quite a bit of reading, but my reading's all on the internet. I don't necessarily read books, although I will from time to time. I don't think this is necessarily a good deal for me, but who knows? Maybe sometime in the future it might be when I have a little bit more free time.
You think about this. You know, I'm sitting here. I'm thinking about, I got two screens, and I've got a Note 2 and a Chromebook on the floor, and everybody's hollering, "Look at me! Look at me! Look at me! Netflix! Look at me! Hulu Plus! Look at me! Amazon Video! Look at me! Audible! Listen to me!" And Facebook newsfeed, "Look at me! Google Plus newsfeed! Look at me! Twitter! Look at me!" When's somebody going to pick up their fishing pole and go sit in the lake and try to catch a fish or take a hike or get outdoors? You know, I mean, I'm sitting here. I mean, there's so much content out there that just screams for our attention. I mean, I think when I read this, I like it and everything, but I'm thinking about, man, I need balance in my life.
You know, it's kind of funny that you say that. I kind of do a bike ride a lot. I'm trying to, because of Napa, it's very conducive to this thing. So, I could stream music all the time, but know what I do? I listen to a set of Led Zeppelin songs that I have on my music on Google Plus, right? And the reason why I do that, I just want one earbud in my ear that I can just kind of follow music just to distract me a little bit, but I still want to hear the cars, are going to plow into me, right? So it's just a nice little thing. So you have all this stuff, but you kind of go to what's familiar and what is useful at the time. So I agree with you, Bruce. You got to grab that fishing pole and go out.
One complaint I have about the Kindle Unlimited package is that it is US only. So I think you guys know whenever one of these subscription services comes out, this is a common complaint I have. And I get it. I understand that they have copyright reasons. Canada's copyright laws are different than the US. But so for me, I can't really subscribe to something like this. But the other thing that I see is it's a limited service. So what were the numbers, Duke? I think you said 6,000 ebooks.
6,000 ebooks, 2,000 audiobooks.
No.
600,000 ebooks.
600,000.
It's 600,000 ebooks. Okay, so that's not as bad. I mean, there are going to be some titles you're not going to find there, and I understand. I just question just how many people are really going to take advantage of this.
Well, if you could share it, if you have kids and you want My Little Pony and, all these books that you don't have to go to the library for, they're kids' edition that you want to, put for them to read and things like that, that might be kind of, for a whole family kind of thing, that might make sense.
That's true. I didn't think of the family aspect. That is a good point, actually.
I like My Little
I don't
Pony.
think they're going to lose money over this. Of course, Amazon, they're one who's known for not really revealing sales numbers. But Netflix, this is not going to come close to Netflix. That I think is a guarantee right away.
Would you would you pay Dennis? I hear you loud and clear on the Canadian copyright. Would you pay $120 a year for such a service, though?
Well, look what we do with Netflix. I mean, Netflix, we're paying the $8. I myself might not necessarily, because I don't read as much as some people do, but my sister-in-law, for example, I know she is a very avid reader and audiobook listener as well, and I honestly think she might do it.
Okay. Fair enough. I'll tell you what. Let me throw this. Let me throw this to the rest of the panel. Bruce, would you spend $120 a year for this service?
No, not currently. But I would also add this: watch Google to do something in Google Play to come up with something similar, both in books and audible books.
Yeah, I've thought about that, Bruce. What I'm looking for is Play Unlimited to include books and more. Okay,
Right.
books,
Gaming.
movies,
Yeah.
music. Yeah.
The whole deal.
Hey, Jeff, would you pay $120 for the Amazon service?
No, I would not.
Okay, Robert?
Not a chance.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, guys, let's move on. One of our favorite topics here as of late has been the Chromebook. Several of us are Chromebook fans. We've watched this segment of the market grow in Google's favor, and I want to talk just briefly here about Microsoft gains and, Chromebook gains and Microsoft worries. Hey guys, Microsoft, we talked last week about Microsoft offering these $250, I'm going to call them netbooks. Well, I don't know if that's the right term or not, but these are meant to compete directly with Chromebooks. Google recently made an announcement that in the last quarter alone, they sold over 1 million Chromebooks just to the education market. This did not include any kind of consumer level sales numbers. We've also talked, Jeff, I think last week you made a good point that Microsoft lowering the price to try to compete here is a much better plan than hiring a marketing firm to make Screwgle commercials. Okay.
Correct. Yep.
But I just want to talk a little bit about these numbers. First of all, I bought a new Chromebook after I said that the i3 Chromebooks were too much money. I ate my words and bought one, and I'm enjoying the heck out of it. But we're starting to see, guys, a new breed of Chromebooks. Besides the Acer offering an i3 with 4 gigs of RAM, Dell has announced that they are they're discontinuing their Celeron Chromebook and replacing that Celeron Chromebook with the i3. And I might add, by the way, that Dell has not been able to keep this Celeron in stock. They're currently out of stock. So I guess what I'm after for with the group, what I would like to hear from you guys is this a good move for Chrome? Is this a good move for Google because they're upping these specs, but these Chromebooks are in the range. They're actually more now, a lot of them, than the lowest end Microsoft Windows notebooks. So, Bruce, what are your thoughts, man?
Chromebooks are a game changer in the industry, bottom line. And I would add another couple of words to the title of this article. I would add Chromebook gains, Microsoft worries, and Apple worries. Because listen, the more prolific Chromebooks get and Microsoft begins to drop their price, it creates an even bigger differential between these high-priced MacBook Airs that 80% of the people don't need. I think Google's in the driver's seat here. I think they have to be careful about how far they adjust, but they gotta stay with the original vision of the Chromebook. Yeah, if they could come up with a really nice mid-range Pixel at $600 that was unibody construction aluminum, yeah, that would be really great. But I tell you, I think Microsoft is not the only one worried here. I think Apple's worrying as well.
All right, Robert, weigh in, man.
And that may very well be true because Apple doesn't have a player in this game. They really do not have a player in this game. Mm-hmm. Microsoft has announced it's going to come out with the lower end web, consumption device.
The Bing book.
Chromebook, yeah. but the bottom line is Apple has nothing to step up with that at all. When you look at what a Chromebook can do and what a lot of people do mobily, the Chromebook does exceedingly well. Okay? Now, having said that, as you start to approach the $400, the $450 price range, those limitations that the Chromebook does have, we have to admit that there are limitations and sacrifices that are made by the Chromebook, that becomes more significant. I have never met anybody who paid $350 for a low-end Windows laptop and was just totally thrilled with the machine. It just was so wonderful that it was great and it was so reasonably priced. But I've met plenty of people who spent $200 for a Chromebook and absolutely loved it for what it was. I know people who have spent $350, Duke, and still absolutely love the device. But as that price creeps up, do the limitations that a Chromebook inherently present become a bigger issue? And I say that they do, but still that doesn't change the fact that 80 to 90% of what people do with these small, lightweight devices, the Chromebook does exceedingly well. Things like the Apple MacBook Air is just complete overkill and a waste of time. Complete waste of money.
So let me jump in here just really briefly before we go to the Octane store that's going to be blowing our brains out. Maybe these manufacturers know something we don't, right? And maybe they're upping to the i3 processor and some bigger specs because they know that the Chromebook is going to be able to support Android apps. And they might need to have a little more horsepower to dually run this stuff. Wouldn't that be an interesting kind of thing, that they are aware of this stuff in advance?
Jeff, you see, you're bringing up a point that's just killer. I said about the limitations of the Chromebook as it exists right now.
That's what I'm saying.
But put Android apps on the table.
Exactly.
And now all of a sudden that i3, that $350 that Duke spent, is not such a foolhardy play.
Right. That's what and I think these manufacturers know something we don't, and that's why they're going up to the higher specs, better processor, because there might be something really interesting down the pipe, and they're building their little stable now, getting ready for it.
I hope you're right, because if that is the case, we're chipping away those limitations of Chromebook, and now you really got Apple shaking in their shoes, because not only do you have Android on tablet and phone taking away market, now you actually have a portable device that's actually taking away their big-time hardware moneymakers.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, first of all, I did want to show my Octane score here on this i3 with 4 gigs of RAM. It's a 14416 this time. Actually, this is the lowest score that I've run so far, and normally it's well over 14.5. But here again, this is i3 processor. It's 4 gigs of RAM, and you other Chromebook users, if you want to run it, go to octane-benchmark.googlecode.com and just push the button to run the Octane score. The more processor you got, the less time it takes. It took this right here less than a minute to produce this score. And I just want to say that here's my prediction, guys. And by the way, Robert, you're being kind. With tax, I paid over $400 for this Chromebook. Okay, and when you're hitting this area right here, I'm honest, guys. $400 will buy a lot of Windows machine nowadays. Okay, it really will. It will buy an i3 in a lot of cases.
Yes, but will it buy you 9 hours battery life?
Well, that's a good question. But just let me say this. We can talk about Microsoft machines can do more, and maybe it's not a good experience. They can do more. But you know what people are realizing with Chromebooks is that Chromebooks do simple. Okay? And I think that's a big piece that people that are starting to use these Chromebooks are really realizing that, hey, this is simple. It's easy. It's almost automatic boot. It does everything that I need it to do. And suddenly, I'm thinking, you know what? I did pay $400 for this thing with tax and all. But what a monster machine, and it's doing all of this stuff so fast that it's listen, as much as I loved my Samsung, which by the way, gang, had an octane score of barely over 5,000. That's versus over 14,000 on my new one. This thing is just so fast that, man, I'm loving it more than I ever loved my Samsung.
Go ahead.
Can I say this? I spent $216 for this carry-on because I needed a new carry-on because it's got a padded slot that fits my Chromebook perfectly. I didn't buy it because it could carry a 15-inch laptop. I bought it because it'll securely hold my Chromebook.
And now I think Acer is outselling Samsung in the Chromebooks.
And that's another thing I wanted to talk about, Jeff. Thank you. You know, Acer has not only overtaken Samsung, but guess what? Best Buy has the Acer C720 Celeron processor on sale this week for $179. Probably the best-selling Chromebook on the market right now in all the world, okay? And Best Buy has put it on sale for $180. So now, here's my prediction, guys, pondering this, you know, and I've said this before. If you look, there are Chromebooks all over the market. There's all kinds of models. There's new ones coming out as we speak. All right? Come Christmas time, when Microsoft unveils this $200 Windows tablet, we're going to be talking on this show about $125 to $150 Chromebooks. And they're not going to be no-name off-brand Chromebooks either, okay? Anybody going to challenge me on that?
I think you are absolutely correct there, Duke. I mean, I was a bit nervous overall, like when we heard about those cheaper Chromebooks, because I was so used to the $200 Chromebook, like the Acer C720 Celeron model, that I didn't really want to see anything cheaper because it would make the experience worse again. And like we've seen that with the really cheap Android tablets. But now that you're getting the premium Chromebooks going for $400, I think you're going to start seeing those like decent ones, the average Chromebooks, still, I think we're still going to see them around the 150, maybe 200 at most, and they will be really good competitors for that Windows tablet that you mentioned Microsoft may announce.
I agree. And Tanya Bolus, she just wanted to weigh in here. I love my Chromebook. I have a MacBook Pro too, and I never use my MacBook Pro, and it's so easy with my Chromebook. Light and easy to use. I take it camping with me all the time. Best thing I did to buy it. Thanks, Tech and Coffee, for helping me get one. You're certainly welcome, Tanya. Thanks for weighing in there. All right. Yeah, man. All right. So, by the way, guys, I really, really am very satisfied with this Chromebook, and I'm not going to recommend it because I've just had it about 26 hours now. So I'm still putting it through its paces, but so far I've been very impressed with it. I'm still yet going to maintain, though, that if you're wanting to buy a Chromebook, my personal recommendation would be to get that Celeron 2 gig Acer C720 that is on sale at Best Buy right now. Bruce, I think that's the one you've got. Jeff, is it the one you've got also?
You know, I'm not too sure. I have this 4 gigs. Mine has 4 gigs.
Yeah, you've got the 4 gigger. This is the 2 gigger that's on sale. And Bruce, I'm pretty sure that's the one you have.
That's the one I have. Yeah.
We all know how much you love yours.
Absolutely.
Yep. I have the C720 2 gig, and I have the C710 2 gig, the original Acer with the Intel processor. Both of them perform admirably well, but my Octane score wasn't as good as yours did.
I wish I could get that up here in Canada for that price, because I would Well, I'd still probably want the one in the U.S. because it would have a U.S. keyboard. But yeah,
I think
that's a
United
rant
States
for another
just
day.
take over Canada. Let's just take them over.
Uh,
So Dennis
Someone
could
ship
get
me up
stuff.
the Chromebook. I'll pay. There you go.
and Dennis, I'll tell you what. Before I leave this, I know you and I had a little conversation on G Plus, and I just want to say, listen, I do agree with you. I'm still wanting that high resolution, high quality display in a Chromebook. I just don't want to pay a pixel price to own such a display. Okay.
I get it. I think tablets have really started making our expectations of a laptop that much higher.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with you. I would agree.
Give me an Nexus 7 display in, like, say, an 11 to 13 inch form factor, and at that resolution, 1080p. You know what? Give me that kind of display. I'd be thrilled. But again, right now we'd probably be paying pixel prices for that. So
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I'll tell you what, man. I got one more topic here we're going to talk about, and then I'd like to move on to Dennis's experiences with Android Wear. Before we get there, though, let's talk about NVIDIA's new Shield tablet. Hey, man, this is a tablet built for gaming. This is what NVIDIA does. This was their vision. They've got this. They actually unveiled this in January at CES, the best I remember, Dennis. And listen, man. This thing's going to have an 8-inch screen. It's 1080p display, just what you were talking about, Dennis.
Yep.
I have not seen a price on this. Have you?
$299 is going to be the price of it.
Okay.
Let me actually share the page right from NVIDIA. And just to clarify, when you mentioned it, that they showed something at CES, it was actually, that's when they announced the mobile processor, the Tegra K1.
Okay.
And I will say the tablet, even if you're not a gamer, this tablet for $299 really seems like a good deal.
Didn't they try to show this at Google I/O running a game, and it was kind of didn't come out that well?
I don't think they were showing it on here. I think they were showing it on a different phone, and they were having screen mirroring issues or something like that.
Okay, so it wasn't on this. All right.
I just want to say, Dennis, that the one thing that really jumped out at me when I looked at the tablet is it looks like NVIDIA has taken design cues from HTC. I really think this looks like the front of an HTC phone, and they've even included front-facing stereo speakers like the HTC One would.
Yeah.
The thing's got front and rear-facing cameras, both 5 megapixel. Stats-wise, this looks like a whole lot of tablet for $300. I will agree.
And the one thing is that, now bear in mind, I've got the original Shield, which they're now calling the Shield Portable, and I use it all the time for emulation, so playing old like Nintendo games, Super Nintendo games, things like that. But I like this idea of the tablet where you can connect it to the TV, like to a TV through HDMI, and then they've got the wireless controller. So I like that idea. You can get the wireless controller for it, and you can still do the same PC streaming for those who want to do that. Now, I haven't actually tried that with my original Shield. I have a video card that's one model below what I can do, below the one that would allow me to do it. But again, even if you're not a gamer, like I said, this looks to be an incredible deal.
And it still runs
It
Android,
does also
right?
have a micro SD slot.
It is running Android, correct?
Yeah, it's Android 4.4.2.
Yeah.
I think that's what they said. So not quite 4.4.4, but the nice thing with NVIDIA is they don't really do much with Android. They just add their things like the controller mapping software, things like that. So they get updates pretty quick.
So,
Even my original
am I understanding you to say that come the end of July, you're going to be picking one of these up?
I'll tell you right now, this is definitely... I've been wanting a replacement tablet for a while at 8 inches, and this looks like the machine I'd get.
Fair enough.
So
Fair
I
enough.
want to see the reviews, of course, but because battery life is probably my biggest concern, given how powerful that new Tegra chip sounds. But I'll tell you right now, guys, that depending how it goes, I I really am considering getting this machine.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And I will agree. It looks like a whole lot of tablet for $299, and it's more than a tablet. So, hey, Dennis, listen, we're about to run short on time here. Real quick, we hadn't seen much of you in the last couple of months, but during that time, you actually took the plunge and tried to experience Android Wear as a Pebble user. You had a comparison point to compare Android Wear against. In about, I'll give you about 4 minutes. How can you describe your experience with Android Wear?
Well, first of all, for those curious, I did get the Samsung Gear Live, and so that was the one with the 1.63 AMOLED display, and 1.63 inch AMOLED display, I should say. Now, in terms of the Gear Live watch itself, I liked it. I liked the design of it. I liked how, I liked the fact it had the hardware button that would either turn it on or like turn off the screen, things like that. The charger was a bit hit or miss. It was just a little snap-in charger, and if you're not careful, I can see why some people may have problems with it breaking. But in terms of Android Wear itself as an operating system, it definitely needs work. My biggest problem is from a usability standpoint. For example, sending a text message, I would say text Duke, hi, how's it going? And if it didn't respond, if it didn't translate accurately, I would have about 2 to 3 seconds to hit the cancel button before it would automatically send the text. And even when you hit that, you have to do it again. Because it basically says, it's almost an are you sure, but it took me a few seconds to realize what that was. And I've actually had text send as a result. So that were just nonsensical because the voice recognition failed me. So now the problem is I don't know how much you can really fix that, because having a keyboard on an Android Wear device isn't going to work. Okay, I mean, we've seen like the demos of Minuum. It's just not going to work. Now, the other thing I have that's an issue, and a lot of reviewers commented on it, is you have to swipe everywhere. For example, controlling your music, you have to swipe once for previous, swipe a second time for next track, things like that. It was not extremely user-friendly, I found. And I mean,
so you think if they added all voice commands, for instead of swipe commands, would that kind of?
I'd like gesture support, actually.
Gesture support, okay.
I'd like gesture. For example, a good example is with the Pebble Music Boss app, which now they've actually made a Android Wear version of it. That's like limited because it's the first version. With the Pebble, for example, what I could do is I could just go like adjust an arm forward to pause the track, and pause it to like unpause it to resume, or like same gesture to play it again. Or rotate my arm for like skipping tracks, things like that. Something like that may work better. Admittedly, after I had posted my viewpoints on our Tech and Coffee community, I ended up getting a note in one of my forums that Music Boss was available for Android Wear, and they made it where you swipe up for volume up, swipe down, swipe left and right for track skip. And that was a little better. But again, I think the whole platform just needs a bit of work. And it's going to happen, but for all those who are saying that they're waiting for the Moto 360 because of its really cool design, I don't think it's going to be ready for that yet. So
what about visibility?
What's up, guys, is my opinion, but you know what? If you want to try it, go ahead. There are some good things about it. But overall, I just find the Pebble much more polished, much more refined, and I have to say the battery life is much better.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. Anybody got any questions for Dennis and his experiences?
I got a couple, so go ahead.
I have one too.
Yep.
So in other words, your Android Wear watch lasts about as long as your underwear. 1 day?
Yeah, I mean, I should have known something like that was going to come up, considering your comment at the beginning of the episode. But yes,
One
you
day.
are charging it every day.
Okay.
And what about visibility outdoors? Bright sunlight.
Put it on max brightness, you're okay. Like you can generally see it, but definitely it's one we need more like new screen technology for that, and I don't see it happening anytime soon, honestly. But that's just one of those drawbacks people are going to have to expect.
Do you think anybody would ever come up with an e-ink Android Wear? Instead of the color with its limitations, coming up with an e-ink watch. I mean, what do you really need as far as resolution and color on a watch?
That's an interesting point. I mean, I know Pebble's got their, like the Pebble and Pebble Steel running their own OS, things like that. I really think they should make an Android Wear watch with the e-paper display. I think, like, the big problem is you'd have to disable some of the animations just because of how e-ink it has to refresh the display. I think in general that would be an interesting idea that could help improve battery life. But I'd also like to see where you could have a reflective option, one where, say, at night you have the color LCD, and then there's some way that you could have it where it's reflective in that it doesn't use the backlight during the day, and it would just use sunlight.
Google Maps already does that in Android now. It will actually change color.
Changing color, yes, but it's not quite the same as like making it easily viewable outdoors.
Well, my point is that the technology already exists in Android to do something very similar to what you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I say, you know what? Give it 6-8 months. I want to see what's going to happen with it, but right now I think it's just too new, too bleeding edge that I'm going back to my Pebble once I get a new one because I ended up selling my current Pebble to my brother. So.
Has
it just so you know, Jeff, no, I do not have the Android Wear watch anymore.
Did it affect the battery life on your phone?
Not really noticeable. And I think that's partly because it uses the Bluetooth 4.0 low energy spec. So I did not notice any issues on the phone battery life.
All right. Well, Dennis, I just want to say that, first of all, thank you. And I kind of feel like saying I told you so. Not because you bought it and got rid of it, but, I've been saying all along that Android Wear and smartwatches in general are not smartwatches. They're right now they're merely extensions of our smartphones.
Yep.
And they're not necessary. Okay, people are buying them for convenience, and don't get me wrong, they will. But listen, people don't buy TVs without remote controls. Okay, I mean if a TV didn't come with a remote control, they wouldn't buy it.
Yep.
But at this point in time, I just don't feel that smartwatches are necessary. They don't really advance the way we've used technology. They just make it a little bit more convenient in a very small set of circumstances. So I appreciate your experiment, man. I really do.
Yeah, and you are correct, Duke. Again, whenever you've said that, I've never disagreed with you. Once again, for anyone who has not heard me mention this, I much prefer the term connected watch right now as opposed to smartwatch, even though it's a longer name. But that's really what it is. It is an extension of the phone. And I will admit I do like the Pebble just because, like, mostly because of the convenience. But there are some apps that you don't necessarily need the phone on as well. Like you can use it you can use the Pebble at that point even if you're not by your phone. It'll still at least tell time. It'll at least do some basic things. So,
all right. Hey, Dennis, really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Oh,
hey,
you're welcome.
Dane, go ahead there. I thought somebody was wanting to say something.
No, I was just saying you're welcome. That's all.
Okay. Okay. Hey, listen, man. Who in the world is Tech and Coffee and Android Journal? Hey, Tech and Coffee is we're a G Plus community. We've been hanging out since right around November of 2011. Real tight knit community. Most of us have met in real life at various hurls, and we'd like to invite you to come and hang out with us. Go to techandcoffee.info. You will find links for joining the hangout, and come and join us. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Tech and Coffee 1. Our YouTube channel is Tech and Coffee. You can follow us on Google Plus by searching on Tech and Coffee and look for that TNC logo. Also, you can find our podcast on Stitcher Radio and iTunes and other various podcasts. And if you've got a favorite podcast application and we're not on it, how about dropping us a line at ajandtechandcoffee.info. Let us know what you're using, and we'll see what we can do about getting our podcast placed on your podcast app. Hey, guys, let's move into the apps segment. Hey, Dennis, what you got for us? I'm sorry, Bruce, what do you got, man?
Okay, well, you know, I fly every month, and I was really disappointed. One of my favorite apps, Flight Predictor, is no longer available in the Play Store, and I noticed it hadn't been working over the last couple of months, and I finally emailed the developer and found out that the back-end database service that he was using to pull all this information to drive the app went out of business, and so he had to take it down from the Play Store. So the one that I've replaced it with so far, and it's not near as good, is an app called Flight Stats. What Flight Predictor would do is it would take a lot of different data. You know, where's the plane coming from? Where's the crew coming from that you're going to be going out on? And it could make some really good predictions. I liked it that it had maps of all the different airports. But for right now, Flight Stats has taken the place, and so you can load up your flights. You can put what airline when you're flying and the flight number, and it can give you some good information. It can give you some historical data. Historically, how much is this flight actually on time? You can check different airports, and you can see information as far as the delay index, and you can get the weather for that particular airport, and then some other interesting things. But anyway, Flight Stats, a good replacement for Flight Predictor. I sure wish he would be able to find another data source to bring that back, because it was my favorite flying app.
Very good, very good. Dennis, what you got, man?
All right. Well, my app, actually, this is going to sound a bit interesting, because it actually is an Android Wear app. It was actually one that I felt really helped, and it's actually called the Wear Mini Launcher. Now, I'm actually just trying to search for it on the Play Store here. But what it would do is, normally on Android Wear, to go to an app, you either have to say start all the cooks, for example, or you have to scroll down a big long list. Now, with the Wear Mini Launcher, it basically it would allow you to have a menu. Here we go, I found it. It would allow you to have a app menu, kind of like what you'd see on your app drawer on your phone. But, of course, being on a watch, it's much smaller. Like, you'd have six icons, for example, per screen. But it has that. It has a quick toggle for your brightness, which, again, is really important for those who are going outside with their watch often. And you can also toggle off Wi-Fi, sound or vibrate on your phone, or even locate your phone. So it's a free app for anyone with an Android Wear watch. And even though I'm not really big on the platform, as I mentioned earlier, this is almost a must-have app for those wearing a G Watch or a Samsung Gear Live right now.
All right, very good. And that's Mini Wear Launcher. All right.
Wear Mini Launcher.
Hey, real quick, I said I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to lie to you. Hey, listen, Google's two-step verification, if you're not using it, you're crazy. All right? So Google two-step, verification. It'll get you started on doing it, and then once you get two-step going, then head on over to the Play Store and grab Google Authenticator. It's just a great app. I'll tell you what, I'd kind of gotten away from it for a couple of months, and when I went back, I was using their text message service to text me a code. Remembered about this app from Google called Google Authenticator, installed this thing, and believe me, I can't, setting up this Chromebook, I have used this many times in the last couple of days, and this just makes two-step authentication that much easier. There's nothing to it, and it makes anyone trying to hack your account almost impossible. Yeah, go ahead and activate two-step authentication, and then go get Google Authenticator, and it's almost hassle-free. Hey guys, we got anything else this week? All right, man. Hey, once again, guys, you have been listening to Tech and Coffee's Android Journal. Stitcher Radio listeners, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Again, if you've got a podcasting app and you can't find us on it, drop us a line at aj@techandcoffee.info. We'll see what we can do about correcting that. Hey guys, y'all have a great rest of the week, and we will catch you in 7. Peace out, gang.